Good morning, Young Kings. Time for your morning motivation. Just walked just over 2 miles, like 2.28 something. So, progressing. So, it's been a while since I've been on here. It's been about, over a week since I came on last. So, it's been a little time since I've been doing videos. Been in a little slump. And that happens. And that's part of the thing that I wanted to talk about today. Sometimes it's okay not to be okay and not to rush through a process where you feel like you need to be what other people say you should be or ahead of where you currently are. So there's an element of being patient with yourself and understanding that um, this thing called life is not a sprint, it's a marathon, and they will have ever ups and downs and flows that happen. So I didn't want to wait too long before I got back on, but I needed to um, work through some things, and I'm still kind of working through some things. But as I mentioned in these videos, like the purpose of these videos is not to get through it and then come back to it and do kind of um, give you an idea of what I went through. It's to take you along that journey and you can see the steps and the stages that I go through as I continue to grow and develop. Because that's what the ultimate goal is to grow and develop, is to be better tomorrow than I am today, but also accept and appreciate who I am today, knowing that I'm a work in progress, and there's still things are still happening. So, um, as I mentioned, I walked just 2.5 miles today. 2.2 miles. Look at that, and it felt different. It took me just over 40 minutes to do it. So the leg is still to a point where um, it's deceptive in its way of how it's maneuvering, how I'm maneuvering with it. Like when I first injured and pulled my hamstring and strained my calf, I noticed it every time I walked. There was a reminder that something was wrong, that I was injured or something. Um, and then the pain started to diminish um, after about a week, 8, 9 days. And now it's to a point where I can walk pretty normal, but every once in a while, if I take a step somewhere, there's a pain that reminds me like you're not healed. There's still something there. So today was actually the first day that I got back into um, a walking type regimen, or trying to put a little more pressure and get distance on it. Like obviously I'm walking, to and from the car and to get to work or to go to various different stores. But as far as a dedicated, intentional fitness endeavor, today was one of my first times it was my first time since the injury, and I did just over 2 miles. But being injured is something else. It's I think there's a parallel. Well, I know there's a parallel between my injury and then kind of what I'm going through in life. Like you don't just pick up the next day and say, "Hey, I'm going to go run again." And the thing about it is like this injury and where I'm at in life is like um, my mind knows that I was capable of doing better and that I have done more pre-injury. Like when I'm walking through there, it felt, and there's nothing wrong with those who walk, but when you go from running um, and running at a distance to struggling to walk, and and it's taking you double the time to get half the distance, it can be frustrated. So you can, and a lot of people may think you should be further ahead than where you are. Like, hey, just get out there and do this and do that. But sometimes you got to listen to your body. There's a saying out there that says all you can do is all you can do, but you just got to make sure that's all you can do. Um, and this is more of an indictment on me and my mindset. Like my mental, I will say weakness during this period. It's like it's my leg that's been injured, but not being able to run has kind of handicapped other areas of my life as well. It's like my core workouts are becoming light and almost non-existent. Like I still should be able to do something, and it's amazing. Like when you're injured in one area, it'll be amazing how other areas of your life will be impacted by that if you let it. You will find yourself off track. And now I realize how people get so far off track and distracted from their goals is because if you're not on this perfect journey where everything is lining up, if you have a delay and you have a setback in one area or injury, let's just call it an injury, um, then that injury could start to go to other areas of your life, and then you get so far off track where it seems impossible. It's only been about 2 weeks since the injury, and that's a short amount of time. I mean, that's not a long time to heal, to get back out there. But at the same time, it feels like I'm I'm light years from being able to go run miles and even think about getting up to 9, 10, or plus miles again. It feels like that's a long ways off. Um, but it being a long ways off is I still need to get started with stretching. So trying to condition my body to be prepared for this journey that I got ahead for it. Meaning that this morning when I got up to go walk, I actually stretch. Normally I don't stretch. I just get up, go to location, and I take off, run, and then I come back and I hit record. But even today, I didn't just hit record afterwards. I came back. I did a little stretching at the end, and I still got to do that. But I was saying, like, it's my leg that's hurt, but it feels like other areas of my life are suffering as well from that. Like, my mental awareness, my mental capacity I feel like it's diminishing too, because running was like a therapy for me. It was like a crutch. I won't say a crutch, but it was my outlet to go out and decompress from life and just kind of get out there and just be one, communing with the Most High. And it seems like since I moved back from that, I'm seeing that communion is suffering as well. It's like I got to find a way to get that initial thrive again in the absence of being injured. So being injured in one area, I feel like there's a domino effect where it's knocking down other things in my area. But I'm okay with that. Like I said, it's okay not to be okay. And I was reminded by myself, like, the fact that I'm acknowledging that, hey, there's something still going on up there that I need to be aware of, because that's the first thing to your healing is to acknowledge that there's something wrong that needs to be healed. A lot of people are walking wounded and they're acting like all is well, self-medicating and doing things that would be give the illusion. Like, real talk is like in my life right now, the way it's set up is like I could hide this. I mean, I could go and camouflage everything that's going on in my life. I mean, my professional life is excelling, um, as far as the house, and I can throw parties and do all this to kind of camouflage it, but I'm not really dealing with the root cause of things. So to the naked eye, if I wasn't trying to be transparent and really be whole and be well, I can walk as though nothing's wrong. Like I'm living my best life. I mean, I have the time, I live alone, I have the resources, I have the ability to really go out there and fake it till I make it, and just be shallow in my understanding of what living my best life would be. But it's that pursuit and acknowledgement that no, there's something that needs to be corrected, and if I don't correct it, it's going to come back and it'll be worse later. Like if I don't address this now, then it's going to be even worse when um, it comes back. And that's where it talks about in scripture. And I just thought about this, but so I don't know the exact scripture, but it was just like when the man with the unclean spirit, there was a man with an unclean spirit, and it went out, and then he didn't do the proper work to make sure that he was ready to have the dwelling of the Most High, or for it to replace it. So when you take something away, you got to replace it with something, meaning that you can't just leave it dormant or empty, because something will fill you. So what's going through your eye gate? What's going through your ear gate? Like, what is the information that's gone? And if it's just the vibrations of this world, meaning like you're listening to music, you're listening to friends, and it's just negative stuff going in, that is going to fill you. So what happened is that something happened to this man, and he didn't respond properly. So what ended up coming back was worse than what was originally there. So if I don't deal with this now, this thing is going to grow, and it's going to get to a point where it will destroy me. So, like I said, I'm 2 weeks in to this recovery phase, and at times I feel like I want to give up. Like, I know that I'm capable of recovering, but some of my actions become self sabotaging. I'm sabotaging my efforts. Like, since I haven't been able to work out, my diet's been off too. I'm putting on a few pounds in 2 weeks. So I spent, the last few months building up to 13 miles to be able to run. And I was running like every other day. And I had this regimen going, and I was getting to a point where my fitness level, so it getting there in months and sustaining it for months. And now, 2 weeks into the injury, I feel like I lost a lot of discipline and lost a lot of things. So I was going through this book, and it's called Flourishing, and that's what we've been talking about: how to flourish while frustrated. And it got to a point of dealing with healing and dealing with the ability to recover from setbacks and stuff of that nature. And it gives options in regards to that. It says there's two options when you go to try to heal something. Um, you can either cure it or you can camouflage it. And I just thought that was so, um, man, it was so deep. I mean, and I understand, like I was saying just a few minutes ago, like there's things in my life that's set up, like I could camouflage this, and I can try to not let people know, like I'm disturbed, or that like something's going on in me, and but that doesn't help the cure. So, and it gets into the breakdown of it. It's like to cure something, you got to eradicate it. I mean, you got to get down to the root cause of what is happening, like, and really create a solution for it. And for lack of a better term, it's like COVID-19. It's like, yes, the country's open back up, and people are out navigating through and trying to get back to a new normal way of life, and they're wearing masks and stuff of that nature. But there's no cure out there. I mean, there's still something, whether you believe it or not. And I'm not here to say it is or it isn't, but what I'm saying that what they're stating out there is no cure. So what people are operating under, the insecure, or the I'm kind of stumbling for this, but there's no real method of how do we eradicate this thing. So people are operating under the camouflage. Hey, you just need to wear a mask. You need to stay 6 feet, and you need to do those things to reduce your ability of exposing yourself to it. You're not eliminating; you're just kind of reducing it. There's nothing there to really solve this problem. So when it talks about for a cure actually eradicates or eliminates what is ailing you and what is disturbing you. Um, and it takes a lot of time to get a cure. And that's the reason why we don't have a cure for that. It's like it takes research. You got to do that study to figure out what it is that's abnormal in the system, and what is that virus that's attacking your immune system, and depleting your ability to fight it off, because the body is a self-healing thing. If you were to scratch your arm, yes, you're going to bleed, but over time, that body will start to heal itself. Um, if you're in a healthy state and you got healing properties in you, and for those who um, temple is dwelled, the Most High dwells in, you got the great physician that's operating within you, and it would, your body would start to heal itself. But that's the cure part of it. But the other side of that is like, it's the camouflage. And when you get to camouflage, those were things that people do. Like, they take painkillers. Like, the painkillers just numbs your body to what's going on. It doesn't solve what's actually causing the pain. It just dumb your senses to a point where you can tolerate it, but you never really eliminate it. And that's what medicine does. Medicine, um, and just in the store the other day, the line at the pharmacy is getting ridiculous. I mean, they're breaking down around the corner and down the aisles. I mean, the way they're pushing drugs and prescribing this and giving you this, and it's like, is it curing you or is it camouflaging? Like, it's giving you to a point where you get this false sense of healing going on, and it keeps you coming back to uh, the pharmaceutical industry, for them to give you a dose of medication to get you in a tolerant state. Um, but you're really not healed. You're not healed. You're not healing. You're not progressing. And I'm not against medicine. I think that it's an essential part of recovering from injuries, whether it be accidents or serious disease and stuff that happens within the body. But those are questions you should be asking when it's prescribed to you. Is this going to cure me, or is this going to camouflage? And then have that understanding, and then start seeking and asking for things that's going to cure. And one of the things I notice is that that's what's happening with this COVID-19 and any other disease or virus that comes out. They want to get a vaccine to treat it, but they're not. And I say they, whether it be the pharmaceutical industry, whether it be government, whether it be big companies, whatever, they're not teaching you to build up your immune system. They're not teaching you things that would be more enduring. They're just teaching you to be dependent on medication, and to get to a state where you're dependent on a pill or a shot or this and that to recover. So how did I get there? I don't know. Um, it's broken. Um, there's a lot of things that's going on that's parallel to that. So I'm trying to navigate and understand, how do I get a cure? And I don't want to camouflage that. So that's kind of the pretense of what I'm doing now, is going through and trying to figure out what's what, and asking myself questions, hard questions on, like, why do you feel this way? What about this is bothering you? Like, what about you that is disturbed by this? Like, why are you this um, moving so slowly? And the thing about it, yes, I have an injury, and yes, it's on the road to recovery, and yes, there are things that I need to be cognizant of, but there's other things that I could be doing that I'm not doing. And that's something you have to ask yourself, like, in your state of being wounded, um, are you making excuses, or are you going to make it happen? And if you're watching these videos, you probably know that by now my best friend had passed away. But to give you an example with him, it's like Romaine had a boot on his leg for 25, 26 years. And I'll tell you the story. He got that boot on his leg. We were supposed to join the army together, and I go over that story before. But while I was away at basic training and going to my duty station, he got that boot on his leg he was running from the cops, and they came in his house, and um, he tried to run out the back door and jump off a balcony, and he shattered his ankle. Um, and I remember he told me, he's like, the cops were laughing at me too. He was like, he's sitting there in pain and, screaming and stuff. And he says that they come back around the house down to where he was at, where he jumped and fell to. He was laying there. They called an ambulance, but they told him, that's what your ass get. You shouldn't be running from the cops. And he said they didn't have any compassion at all. But I tell that story to say this, like, he broke and shattered his ankle and had screws and stuff put in there. And there's been several times where he was supposed to go back and get it removed or to get a operation, something for this. And this is over 20 years ago. I'm not talking in the later stages when it got too bad. But in the early stages, he was supposed to go back and get a surgery that would help him to be able to recover from that. But they had the thing, they wanted him to stop smoking weed long enough to have that surgery. And unfortunately, he didn't prioritize his healing over his entertainment. Like, he wanted to still live his life. And anybody that knows him knows that he was a character that was full of life and he enjoyed it. But he became comfortable in that discomfort and in his handicap. And I'm not calling him handicap. I'm just saying that his foot had the opportunity to recover in his early stages. But the further he got away from that initial injury, the harder it became for him to go back and then try to get through the process of being healed. So he started altering his life to reflect his new fallen condition, meaning that it became normal for him to walk like that. I mean, it became normal for him just to buy one shoe now and have a boot on another. It was like he adjusted his whole life around accepting that, because he didn't deal with it in the infancy stages while it was small. And entertainment and smoking weed and stuff was more important than healing. So that's like a reminder to me, like, if you don't deal with things while they're small, when they grow and become adults or giants, then it's going to be even more difficult to deal with it and almost impossible. So from the time that he did that, the injury, up until his death, he was walking wounded. So the question is, like, not only to you, but to myself, it's like, what am I not dealing with that is going to grow to a point where it gets to where I can't deal with it no more, or I just accept it? What are we doing to cure us, or what are we doing to camouflage the things that we're doing? So it's getting to a point where you got to make a decision. Do you really want to be healed? Or do you want to be cured? Or do you just want to escape what you're going through and have a way out? Because I think there's an element of living your best life, and people are looking more for a feel-good escape than they are for a cure. Because when you do a cure, sometimes you got to cut deep. Like, to break bone, they wanted to break his bone again so it could heal properly, right? And it's like, no, I don't know if I want them to break it. It's like, no, it's not breaking to be broken. It's breaking it to be restored and be healed. So it comes a point in time, like, it may hurt to get the cure, but the cure is more enduring. So that's kind of where I'm at, and we kind of rambled through this one. And like I said, I wasn't going to even record it this morning because I was like, you know what, I'm just not really there yet to a point where where I can even present it in an eloquent way. It's just like, it is what it is right now. I'm walking wounded, but in my search for wholeness, I'm looking for the cure. And the thing of what I'm dealing with is, it's not an external thing. It's an internal. The injury to my leg is just giving me a physical manifestation of what's happening in relationships and what's happening mentally, what's happening spiritually. So I have a physical representation of it, but the reality of it is, it's like, it's really not my leg. You know, it's my heart. It's my mind. It's my spirit that needs to be whole. That um, needs to be real, and then recognize that there's growth and development that needs to happen. So um, just going over 25 minutes. I'm not going to be on here too long, so I'll go on and get off. But my challenge to you is to deal with it, and you're dealing with it, meaning like address it, meaning that don't drink it away, don't party it away. Um, there's something in you that has to deal with it, because if you don't deal with it, it's going to deal with you, and then you're going to be walking wounded, for the rest of your life. And then you'll get to a point where you have regrets, and you won't be able to really accomplish your goals and be all that you called to be. And that's the worst thing you can do, is live with regrets. I mean, there's going to be a pain. And this is what you got to realize. Like, there's no escaping pain. So you got the pain of progress, or you got the pain of regret. You know, the pain of regret is like, then like you look back and you reflect on it, man, I wish I would have done that. And I think we all have those instances in life where we have that pain of regret. But that pain of regret is enduring. Like, it doesn't let you go. I mean, you can't go back in time and correct that. So the best thing, there's a saying out there, say, if you have enough time to do it again, then you had enough time to do it right the first time. So don't let that pain of regret be the one. But there's also a pain of progress. The pain of progress, you can look back and you can reflect, and you're like, man, in spite of all I went to, I still was able to do this. So you're going to have a pain. That the pain of regret is discouraging. It will punish you. It will torment you. But the pain of progress, man, it will encourage you. I mean, you'll feel like, I can go another mile. Like when the next adversity come, adverse, you know what I mean. I'm not even going to even try to stumble on here today. But the next time something happens, you can reflect back on the last thing that you overcame. So the pain of progress is more rewarding, it's more encouraging, it's strengthening you to be better. So don't avoid the pain. It's going to be there. Deal with it. Don't look for the camouflage. Look for the cure. There's so much things that we need to develop in, that we can really truly benefit from dealing with things while they're small. So they said, don't make a mountain out of molehills. My thing is, don't let molehills grow into mountains. Get to a point where you deal with it while it's a molehill. And people are like, why are you worried about that? That's no big deal. Don't worry about it, man. You got this going on. You got this going on. You should just be happy. And that's, no, if I don't deal with it, then that's going to attack my happiness. So deal with things while they're small. And when you deal with it, search for the cure and not the camouflage. Have a great day, young kings.